Colin, I have to come to you first, and I'm sure you've been talking about the prosthetic that you wear as Penguin to no end, but I want to hear, because your performance is able to come through in it incredibly. I've never seen anything like that before. But it also, the prosthetic and the look of Penguin and Oswald says something in itself. I want to hear from you. What do you think? What do you want the audience to take away immediately, just upon seeing the look of the character and the design that they put over your face?
I mean, it's human. As human beings, we make very knee-jerk kind of judgment calls on people based on their appearance, right? We're taught to do that from a very young age. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism and it's a survival mechanism. Other times it's just a byproduct of kind of a social criticism that can be cancerous, I think. With that in mind, when I saw, I had thoughts and ideas based on what Matt wrote in the script and what I read, but I was struggling to think what I could do with it and how I could inhabit it. And then I saw Mike Marino's design for the character. And there was so much going on in the face. And it was so realistic just from looking at the design. And then I tried it on, but there was the scarring, the pockmarked face. There was a sadness, there was a kind of an empathy that I felt when I looked at it. And Oz is somebody who, can be terrifying. He has a propensity for violence. But like the majority of human beings on the planet, inside him there is a brokenness that Matt wanted to explore, and I think that Mike represented so much. So when I saw the actual makeup for the first time, the penny started to drop on what drove this man, what his life might have been like before, when he was a young man, when he was a teenager, 20s, working his way up the criminal cabal, and it did so much of the work for me, man. It really did.
That's amazing. You think we'll ever see the monocle, the classic?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. I might have tried it on a couple of times, and I know we went back and forth a bit. I'm not sure. Maybe.
That'd be an interesting little costume piece. John, you loved your version of Falco, man. You brought a real sense of terror and just confidence and presence that is intimidating and charismatic. And I loved your character in comics has relationships with some fantastical heroes and villains too. And the Batman is much more grounded. I'd love to hear from your perspective going into this film, what would he think of those types of fantastical characters based on what he thinks of characters such as Pattinson's Batman?
Wow, that's a complicated question. I mean, I basically went to the Frank Miller comics. I mean, that's what I went to last Halloween, year one. And he obviously was very influenced by The Godfather and the book of The Godfather and the influences in that. So there has to be someone who's been there for a long time. And he has a real connection to the Bruce Wayne family, from when Bruce Wayne was a little kid. And that was something we actually added, the whole thing about him being up on the balcony looking down when he was being operated on by his father, and but he's, a predator. But I don't think he's as damaged as the Penguin or the Riddler and the Joker is. But he lives in this subterranean world, and it's obviously he controls all these politicians, all these people. And so I liked the whole idea of the man behind the curtain who doesn't want to be seen, who is a recluse. So when he meets Bruce Wayne, it's like they're both are reclusive characters. They never go out, and for different reasons.
Yeah.
So there's all these connections, you know what I mean? And so I think that he has a lot in common with Bruce. And
I love that.
Yeah.
That moment. Love that moment between the two of you on the steps, man. It was really beautiful to watch. It was so intimate, and knowing what Falcone's capable of course, it's always a little bit terrifying. Where's he going to go with this? But it was obviously such a profound moment for him that he shared with Bruce's father, and obviously a painful moment for Bruce. Anything around his dad and that loss that he suffered as a child, but the intimacy and the generosity that you were kind of sharing with him was fantastic. It was such a joy to be around that scene that day.
Yeah, that sequence you guys nailed that. It was incredible. And Colin, my last question for you is going to be the Penguin series was announced for HBO Max. We talked about the prosthetic and you've kind of seemingly built your version of Penguin's history, Oswald's history, climbing that criminal ladder. When did that come about? How much have you learned about the character from the idea of exploring him further on HBO Max?
Bits and pieces, man. There's been some conversations. It like this film was, I think all of the actors, Zoe, Paul, John, and Jeffrey, Rob, myself, it was such a collaborative experience, which when films are this size, it's not always as creatively collaborative as Matt allowed this film to be. Matt had very particular ideas of what the world was going to look like and the inner life of each character, but he wanted us all to bring our own sense of history and our own ideas. And so far, the experience of maybe bringing Oz into a 6 or 8 hour journey is the same. Is really collaborative, and the writer Lauren LaFranc has some extraordinary ideas, and it's kind of an amazing character to explore. His kind of awkwardness and his strength and his villainy, yes, his propensity for violence, but there's also a heartbroken man inside there, which just makes it really tasty. I would love to do it. I won't believe it until I'm in the suit and in Mike Marino's makeup and I hear action, then I'll believe it. We'll see.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can't wait to go see the Batman again. I'm excited for everybody to see it. And congratulations to both of you for your excellent work being on display at this one. So thank you so much for the time.
Thanks so much, man.
All right.
All the best.
Have a great day.